Hi guys, and welcome to a presentation on how to lose belly fat with fat burning foods. Now, it's a topic that's been covered by a lot of people in the past, but I just want to give you my take on it. And specifically, I want to look at the question, do fat burning foods really exist? Well, to start off with the whole concept of fat burning foods, you might be a little bit confused. I mean, come on, eat to lose belly fat? Shouldn't that be stop eating to lose belly fat? Or at least eat less anyway. While it's true there are some foods that you need to stop eating right away, but there's actually a unique group of fat burning foods that you need to start eating right away. And without them you'll find it almost impossible to lose weight. And believe me, I know because I've tried. So let's look at the original question. Foods that burn fat, do they really exist? Well, a lot of people don't believe they do. Their whole argument is, if fat burning foods were real, then surely we'd all be eating them. And you know, I've got to say, to a certain extent, I agree with them. There is no one single food that will magically burn away your tummy fat just by sitting on the couch in front of the TV and throwing it in your mouth. But there are hundreds, if not thousands, of delicious, natural, satisfying foods that create the right hormonal environment for your body to burn away its fat stores in a fast and natural way. Now I want to expand on that, foods creating the right hormonal environment, because at the end of the day, our food is fuel. Now, let's use the analogy of a car. A car with no fuel, I'm sure we'll all agree, is pretty much useless. You'd have to stand at the top of a hill and give it a little shove in order to get it to go anywhere if it's got no fuel. So what do? We add fuel, and by the way, aren't we paying too much for it at the moment? But that's another story altogether. But we all know we can't just put any fuel in our cars. If we put the wrong kind of fuel in, it'll never run properly. It'll stall, it'll backfire, it'll feel sluggish, you know the story. And if we get it too wrong, if we put some vegetable oil in there or some aviation fuel, then our car's just not going to move at all. But let's not forget, even though we take our cars for granted, they've been carefully engineered to run in a certain way. And if you keep putting the wrong fuel inside, it's going to damage the mechanics over time, and it's going to shorten our car's lifespan. However, if we get it right, we've got a healthy car that gives us years of faithful service and hopefully hundreds of thousands of miles. But instead of the car, let's think of our bodies in the same way. Now, our fuel is the food and the drink that we consume on a daily basis. With no foods, we just don't work. And if we put the wrong foods inside us, we get health problems. We feel tired, we feel sluggish, and we gain that unwanted belly fat. And the wrong foods are damaging our mechanics and our inner workings. And if we keep putting the wrong foods inside us, what happens? We gain more fat. The health problems can become more serious. And now, instead of shortening the lifespan of our car, we're shortening our own life expectancy. But if you feed us the right foods, our body works perfectly. We suffer fewer illnesses, we feel alert and awake, and most importantly, we enjoy a healthy, lean physique. Just want to emphasize the point again for you. On its own, food does not burn fat per se, but it's the fuel that allows our body to burn fat and keep it off permanently. So let's take a look at some of the wrong kinds of foods. Here's a general list of the foods that are causing you health problems and causing you to gain unwanted weight. Fast foods, deep fried foods, foods containing or cooked in hydrogenated oils and trans fats, foods high in refined sugar, low fat so-called health foods that are actually filled with refined sugar. They don't tell you that on the packet. High fructose corn syrup, diet soda and the artificial sweetening chemicals they contain, and of course refined white carbohydrates such as white breads, pasta and rice. Unfortunately for us, the modern diet is loaded with stomach bulging pitfalls, and the foods that will cause us to store more belly fat. As I've already mentioned, even a lot of the so-called health foods are actually junk foods in disguise that are sabotaging our weight loss efforts. You might have noticed a pretty common theme on the list I just showed you. It's absolutely full of processed foods. Now here's a question we can all ask ourselves. If we removed all the foods from the list I've just shown you from our weekly diet, would there be anything left? Kind of a scary answer, isn't it? Unfortunately, we've become totally reliant on processed foods. And even more unfortunate is that this processing removes a lot of the natural goodness, but just adds in a lot of artificial badness instead. I really believe the only way to reduce the obesity epidemic is to shift our reliance away from processed foods, but unfortunately for a lot of people that doesn't look as though it's going to happen anytime soon. So enough with the bad vibes, let's talk about the right kinds of foods. Here's a general list for you. Free range, grass-fed, red meat. Free range chicken and poultry. Raw dairy, raw mixed nuts, fresh fruit and vegetables, of course, free range eggs, coconut oil, palm oil, great for cooking with those two, wild caught fish, oatmeal, unsweetened herbal, fruit, green, chamomile, oolong teas, and here's one you might not have expected to see on the list, dark chocolate. But note that I'm talking about 70% cocoa content minimum. Now you probably will have noticed that quite a lot of the foods on that list have been given a bad name over the years for being high fat and unhealthy because of it. But what you probably didn't know is fats from natural whole foods are good for your health, and they're actually vital to losing belly flab. It's all about combining the right foods in a healthy and balanced nutritional program. You can't just eat one or two from the list and expect everything to be hunky-dory. Everything needs to be balanced. And don't forget there's a lot of emphasis on how you prepare your foods as well. Deep fried, battered cod isn't good for you, even if the cod was wild caught. You get the picture. So look, I hope I've given you a valuable introduction to this topic, and I hope I've shown you that fat burning foods do exist. They're the fuel that creates the fat burning hormonal environment inside our body. If there's one point I'd like to make to you, it's getting in shape doesn't just make you look good, it's good for your health too, and that's ultimately more important. As usual, check out my website for more fat burning food articles and ways to lose your belly fat. Thanks very much for being here, and I'll catch you in the next presentation.